We're diving into some of the most chilling true crime stories you've never heard. From brutal murders to unsolved mysteries, these cases will keep you on the edge of your seat. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Let's get started. Twin sisters murdered by their mother's ex-boyfriend. Kira and Leah Christopher were 15-year-old twin sisters full of potential. They were students at Helix High School in Lemon Grove, California, excelling in both academics and basketball. Their mother, Joanne Hoy, described them as kind, loving, and full of life. But in April 2020, their lives tragically ended in a horrifying act of violence. On April 15, 2020, Dwayne Edward Groves Jr. broke into his ex-girlfriend Joanne's home with a gun, just days after their breakup. He shot Kira first, then killed Leah, and severely beat Joanne's son, Gary. Joanne escaped with her younger children. Groves fled but was soon found nearby. His gun, with a scratched-off serial number, was left behind. Before leaving, he told Joanne, "You always wanted a story to write. Now you have a book." He later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life without parole plus 72 years. The Florida School for Boys, a century of abuse and cover-ups. The Florida School for Boys, later renamed the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys, operated from 1900 to 2011 as a state-run juvenile reform school. It was the largest institution of its kind in the U.S., with campuses in Marianna and Okeechobee, Florida. But behind its walls lay over a century of horrific abuse, violence, and death. From as early as 1903, the school had a history of mistreatment where boys were found shackled in chains. Over the decades, investigations revealed shocking incidents. A 1914 fire killed at least 6 children. A 13-year-old died in 1934, just over a month after arriving, and overcrowding was rampant. Boys were imprisoned for minor offenses like truancy or smoking. The Dozier School for Boys in Florida, operating for over a century, was exposed in 1968 for severe abuse. Despite a corporal punishment ban that year, beatings, sexual assaults, and torture persisted into the 1990s. The ACLU sued over extreme mistreatment, and a failed 2009 inspection brought in the U.S. Department of Justice. The school closed in 2011. In 2012, investigators found 55 unmarked graves linked to nearly 100 deaths at a Florida reform school, where survivors known as the White House Boys reported brutal abuse. More graves were uncovered in 2019. Florida apologized in 2018, and a 2024 law allocated over $20 million in compensation. The tragedy inspired the Pulitzer-winning novel, The Nickel Boys, and a 2024 film. Survivors still seek justice. Kathy Smiley, a teen's life, cut short by fugitives in 1974. Kathleen Ruth Smiley, known as Kathy, was born on May 22, 1957 in Florida. By 1974, the 16-year-old was living in the northern suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. A senior at Lakeside High School in DeKalb County, Kathy was bright, ambitious, and driven. She was even taking extra courses to graduate early. Initially dreaming of becoming a veterinarian, she later considered a career in teaching. Kathy's family life had recently changed, and her parents, Dale and Jacqueline, had separated. Her father, a corporate marketing rep for Gillette, moved to Minneapolis for work, while Kathy, her younger sister Patricia, and their mother remained in Atlanta. Despite the distance, Kathy remained close to her father. On the weekend of April 20th, 1974, Kathy was excited to spend time with her dad, who had come down for a family outing to Lake Lanier. That morning, she and Patricia met him for breakfast at a Denny's. Afterward, Patricia went to the lake with their father, while Kathy went home to get her swimsuit and water skis. She made a quick call to her mother to let her know she'd be home shortly. Tragically, she never made it back. While driving near I-85, Kathy encountered 2 fugitives, Pinckney Mitchell and Wallace Lanford, who asked for a ride in exchange for gas money. At a Shell station on Shallowford Road, Mitchell acted oddly and stole a rope. Shortly after, the men overpowered Kathy, drove her to woods near the old Lincoln Academy in Gaston County, North Carolina, and brutally assaulted her. Mitchell and Lanford both raped her, and Mitchell stabbed her repeatedly, leaving her tied to a tree. They later returned to burn her car. Mitchell confessed to his brother-in-law, aiding their conviction. Both were sentenced to death, later commuted to life. Locals say Kathy's ghost still haunts the area. Nadine Gurczenski, cold case solved with genetic genealogy. Nadine Gurczenski, born in the early 1970s, spent most of her life in Toronto, Canada. By age 26, she was working at a local strip club, leading a life typical of many young adults. But on May 8, 1999, her life was cruelly cut short. That evening, police in Lincoln, Ontario, were called to Victoria Avenue after a passerby discovered a partially clothed woman's body in a roadside ditch. The woman was Nadine. It took authorities 2 weeks to confirm her identity after releasing her photo to the public. An autopsy revealed she had been strangled. DNA was collected at the crime scene, but at the time there were no matches in national or international databases. Investigators believed her killer might be a truck driver, leading them to examine truck stops between Niagara and Mississauga, where Nadine worked. In 2006, police arrested Michael Durant for the murders of 2 other women, a dancer and a sex worker whose cases bore similarities to Nadine's. But despite initial suspicions, Durant was ruled out. Years passed with no leads. Then in 2021, investigators revisited the case using advanced forensic tools, specifically genetic genealogy, which was unavailable in 1999. The Niagara Regional Police teamed up with various agencies and sent the crime scene DNA to a US-based lab. In 2023, investigators identified Nadine's killer as Joseph Archie Brousseau, a truck driver from New Liskeard, Ontario. He was 34 at the time of the 2001 murder and died in 2017. A posthumous DNA match confirmed his involvement, despite no known connection to Nadine. The case, unsolved for over 20 years, was finally closed thanks to advances in forensic science. Soul Asylum's Runaway Train music video, a powerful tool in finding missing children. In 1993, Soul Asylum's music video for Runaway Train made history by including photos of 36 missing children in its US version. This groundbreaking effort aimed to raise public awareness and help locate missing kids. The initiative expanded globally, with over 70 children featured across international versions in countries like the UK, Canada, Australia, and Spanish-speaking nations. A Spanish version even aired on the show Quien Sabe Dónde, focusing on missing children in Latin America. Thanks to widespread exposure on platforms like MTV, the video significantly increased awareness and directly contributed to locating several children. It became a pioneering example of using music and media for social activism, combining emotional storytelling with real-world impact. In total, the campaign helped recover 21 children. However, not all reunions were happy. Some children had run away from abusive homes and didn't want to be found. Tragically, not all stories had positive outcomes. Dina McNichol and Vicky Hamilton, featured in the UK version, were later found to have been murdered by Scottish serial killer Peter Tobin. Andrea Bowman, who appeared in the US version and disappeared in 1989, was confirmed murdered in 2020 after her adoptive father confessed. As of 2019, 11 children featured in the video, including Andrea Durham, last seen in Florida 1990, Byron Page, missing from Los Angeles 1992, and Christopher Kersey, missing from Minnesota 1990, were still unaccounted for. At 13, Elizabeth Wilde's now Liz Vadek ran away with her 19-year-old boyfriend, living in hiding for nearly 2 years. She had no idea that Soul Asylum's Runaway Train video, created to help find missing kids, would feature her. Seeing herself in the video shook her deeply, leading to a suicide attempt. A friend saved her, and she made her first call home from the hospital. Rebuilding her life was tough, but meeting her supportive husband helped her heal. Once ashamed of her past, Liz now shares her story to inspire others. Runaway Train remains a powerful example of music's ability to save lives. The Stockholm bank heist, where a crime gave birth to a psychological phenomenon. On August 23, 1973, in Stockholm, Sweden, a quiet morning turned chaotic when Jan-Erik Olsson stormed Creditbanken with a submachine gun, declaring, "The party has just begun." He took 4 hostages and demanded the release of fellow criminal Clark Olofsson. Authorities agreed, turning the robbery into a tense 6-day standoff. But the real shock came from inside the bank. Hostages began sympathizing with their captors, even defending them afterward. One woman said she feared the police more than the robbers. When the ordeal ended on August 28th, none of the hostages testified against them. This strange emotional bond gave rise to a now famous term, Stockholm Syndrome, when captives develop loyalty to their captors. Olsen and Olofsson were both arrested. Olsen served 10 years and later became a media figure in Sweden. The bank building itself is now a luxury hotel, but its basement still holds the vault that once confined the hostages, now a tourist attraction and a chilling reminder of a moment when a robbery rewrote psychology. These stories remind us that the truth can be even darker than fiction. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more, hit that like button and subscribe. Stay safe, and see you next time.